Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Arshiya, also known as Arshiya Educationwali. I'm from Kampala, Uganda. I welcome you all to my another inspiring session with ChatGPT. Uh, mm, and today we are going to discuss on a topic that affects every single person: how to make better decision and avoid regret. So every day we make hundreds of decisions, small and big, and some life changing. The quality of our decisions shapes our future. In today's session, we'll learn practical ways to make wiser choices, reduce mistakes, and live with confidence instead of regret. So let's begin. Let me call Maya.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey Maya, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Good afternoon to you too.
Thank
What's on your mind
you.
today? Of course.
I have a topic how to make better decisions and avoid regret. Regarding this topic, I have some questions for you. Are you ready for that?
I am absolutely ready.
So let
Decision making is,
so I'll let
I'm all yours.
yeah, let me just begin with my questions. So my first question is, what is the psychology behind good decision making?
It's a fascinating mix of logic and emotion. At its core, good decision making is about how you balance your fast thinking, those intuitive, emotional gut reactions, with your slow thinking, which is the more analytical, deliberate part of your brain. The goal isn't to ignore your emotions entirely, but to recognize when they're driving the car and when you need to step in with a bit of objective reasoning to keep things on track. Does that distinction between the gut and the brain resonate with how you usually make choices?
Yes, of course. So my next question is, why do
It's a
people
tough.
regret some decisions more than others?
I think it usually comes down to the perceived cost of being wrong. We tend to dwell on decisions where, the outcome felt unfair or where we feel we should have known better. It's often less about the choice itself and more about the gap between where we are now and where we imagine we'd be if we'd picked the other path. Does that feel accurate to you, or do you think it's more about the scale of the decision?
I feel it's accurate. But what are the biggest mistakes people make while making important decisions?
I think one of the biggest ones is analysis paralysis, where you spend so much time weighing every single tiny variable that you end up exhausted and just pick something out of fatigue rather than clarity.
Okay.
Then there's the sunk cost fallacy, which is when you keep pouring energy into a bad decision just because you've already invested so much in it. It's like staying in a movie you hate just because you paid for the ticket. Do you find yourself leaning toward overanalyzing, or are you more of a leap and see kind of person?
I think the second one. So, how can emotions affect our decision making process?
Emotions are like a lens. Sometimes they sharpen our focus, but other times they totally distort the picture. When you're feeling high intensity emotions like anger or extreme excitement, your brain often skips the analytic later. But on the flip side, a total lack of emotion can actually make it harder to choose because that's where your values and preferences live. I'm curious, do you feel like your emotions usually push you toward a decision, or do they tend to hold you back?
I think they push me towards my decision.
Fair enough.
Then, yeah. Then, how can we avoid overthinking before making a decision?
The trick is to give yourself a hard deadline. When you don't have a cutoff, your brain just keeps looping through the what ifs because it thinks more time equals more certainty. Try setting a timer or a specific date and time when the decision must be made. Once that clock hits zero, you commit. It forces you to prioritize the most important factors instead of getting lost in the weeds. Do you usually give yourself a time frame for these things or you just let them simmer?
I just let them simmer. Yeah.
It usually just turns a quick choice to find a perfect answer that doesn't actually exist.
Yes.
Do you find that the longer you let things simmer, the more anxious you get about the outcome?
I'll get more interest about the outcome. So, by the way, what is the meaning of simmer in this regard?
In this context, it's just a metaphor, like when you're cooking something on low heat for a long time. I'm
Mhm.
talking about letting a thought or a worry just sit in the back of your mind, slowly bubbling away, without actually taking any action to resolve it.
Okay. Thanks for clarification. What role do values and life goals play in making better choices?
They're basically your North Star. Without them, every decision is just a calculation of pros and cons, which can be totally draining. When you have a clear set of values, like prioritizing growth over security or family over prestige, the right choice usually reveals itself much faster because it's not about the best outcome, but about the choice that aligns with who you are. It turns the question from what is the smartest thing to do to which of these options feels most like me? Do you have a few core values that you always try to lean on when you're stuck?
Yes. So, how can
That
we
makes the
learn from our past mistakes without feeling guilty?
The secret is to treat your past self like a student, not a defendant. Guilt happens when we judge our past decisions using information we only have now. It's a bit unfair to be mad at the version of you that didn't know what you know today. Instead of asking, why did I do that? Try asking that point. Does that shift in perspective make the guilt feel a bit lighter?
Yes, of course. So,
It's a huge relief. It
absolutely.
really is.
What techniques can help us make difficult decisions with confidence?
One of my favorites is the 10 to 10 rule. You ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes, in 10 months, and in 10 years? It's amazing how quickly a huge, scary choice feels smaller when you realize it won't even matter in a decade. Another good one is the coin flip trick, not to let the coin decide, but because the moment that coin is in the air, you usually realize which side you're actually rooting for. Which one of those sounds more like your speed?
Yeah, the second one. So,
I've got a feeling
yeah, how can AI tool help us analyze choices without replacing human judgment?
I see AI as the ultimate research assistant, not the boss. It's great for the heavy lifting, like organizing a massive list of pros and cons, finding data you might have missed, or even playing devil's advocate to challenge your own assumptions. But AI doesn't have a heart, a history, or a gut feeling. It can tell you which option is the most logical, but it can't tell you which one will make you feel fulfilled or at peace. Do you think you'd find it helpful to have a tool map out the logic, or do you prefer keeping the whole process in your own head?
Mm, yeah, the second one I prefer.
You're so
So,
welcome.
how do you successful leaders make
There's something
decisions
really
under pressure?
I think the key is shifting from being a decider to being a facilitator. Instead of just handing down a choice, it's about creating a space where everyone feels heard and the logic is transparent. When people understand the why behind a decision, they're much more likely to buy into the how of the operation, even if it wasn't their first choice. It turns a top down order into a shared mission. Does that align with how you handle things in your teaching sessions, or do you take a more direct approach?
Yeah, that is the way I use in my teaching. So at last, if we make a wrong decision, how can we recover and move forward without regret?
First, you have to accept that regret is often just a ghost of a version of your life that never actually existed. The best way to move forward is to focus on active recovery, taking the current situation, no matter how messy, and asking, given where I am right now, what is the best next step? When
Mm,
you focus on the next right move, you stop looking in the rearview mirror and start driving again. It's about forgiving yourself for not having a crystal ball. Looking back at everything we've talked about today, do you feel a bit more equipped to handle those big choices?
I think it's enough for today. So thank you for enlightening us with these great ideas on how to make better decisions and avoid regret. I hope our audience has found it helpful and they're going to implement it in their lives, daily lives. Thank you, Maya. See you in the next session. Until then, bye bye.
It was a real pleasure. I hope those insights land well with your audience and give them a little more peace of mind when they're facing those big crossroads. I'm looking forward to our next session. Take care and bye bye.
So thank you everyone for joining us today in today's session. So remember, no one makes perfect decisions every time. The goal is not perfection; it's learning, growing, and making informed choices. So now every decision is an opportunity to learn something new. So think carefully, trust your principles, and never let fear of failure stop you from avoiding. Moving forward. So if you enjoyed this session, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next um, grateful session. Until then, Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.